The first topic would be high altitude sickness, and the speaker would be Dr. Pradeep Shihare.
So I have to be fast, little fast, because the time has been reduced from 20 minutes to 15 minutes. So my topic is high altitude illnesses. The beauty and the recreation opportunities of the mountains are mountains attract millions of visitors worldwide. Uh, Climbers, trekkers, skiers, military personnel, rescue and other professionals are climbing since 50, 60 years. But now the general population, people are going to mountains for a short visit, and they are crazy, risk-taking, affordable, accessibility is there, and the communication road and communication is developing. But they are not aware of the effect of the rarefied air, which is causing high altitude in these high mountains. They have little knowledge and no time for acclimatization. So generally, the taxi drivers and the hoteliers, they teach them about the acclimatization. India is an emerging economy, and Government of India is intent to make the India top tourist destination of the world. And their infrastructure is developing: roads, roads, tunnels, airport, hotels, resorts, adventure tourism, recreations are all developing in the high mountains. They are also improving the pilgrimage that, like Kedarnath, Badrinath, and Hemkund and Mansarovar, they are developing. The most of the destinations can be reached in a day. More than 50% of the tourists suffer from mild to moderate acute mountain sickness and may progress into the life-threatening high altitude edema illnesses. Children are not spared. Nuclear family can't leave child at home. The enthusiastic parents wants to take their children, and their children are also adventurous. Some of the schools are situated in the high mountains. So most of the high altitude travelers are poorly prepared, and there is no general knowledge of they don't have general knowledge of high altitude sickness, and physicians are not all aware of the high altitude illnesses, especially those working in the high mountains and near the mountains. So these are the fascinating facilities, and the sports are there in the mountains. People are fascinated and they go for the entertainment activities. So this review has two purposes. First, to understand the basic pathophysiology of the physiologic response of the high altitude hypoxia leading to high altitude illnesses, and to discuss specific risk factors, prevention, and treatment options, so that the pediatricians and the healthcare professional can appropriately advise travelers ascending to high altitude. So coming to physiology of high altitude. At the sea level, there is pressure of 760 millimeter of mercury, that is equal to 10 meter of water pressing on us. But when we go up, the atmospheric pressure reduces, the air gets rarefied, but the concentration of oxygen remains same, 21%. But the partial pressure of oxygen reduces, that causes hypobaric hypoxia. So we must understand the movement of oxygen in body. So there is pressure gradient that pushes oxygen from atmosphere to the tissue and mitochondria. A fall in atmospheric pressure produces cascade of effects right down to the level of mitochondria. So if we want to calculate PaO2, that is partial pressure of oxygen in alveoli, so in Calcutta, the altitude is 9 meter and the barometric pressure is 760. The partial pressure, when air comes in the nasopharynx, the PiO2 in nasopharynx is equal to 760 into 760 into 0.21, that is PO2. So it comes 159. But when this air goes into the trachea and reaches to carina, it is 100% humidified and temperature is 37 degrees centigrade. So we have to deduct the pressure of the water from the atmospheric pressure, and it is to be multiplied with the FiO2. So it comes 150. This humidified air, when reaches to the alveoli, it mixes with the dead space gases like carbon dioxide, and it is again diluted, and the ये रख ले भाई. It is diluted in the dead space, and the concentration again reduces because of the carbon dioxide pressure. So carbon dioxide pressure into, that is R is the respiratory quotient, is to be deducted from the 150 minus 50 is equal to 100. So the PaO2, peak pressure, partial pressure of oxygen in alveoli is 100 in Kolkata. But if we calculate partial pressure of oxygen in alveoli in Leh, so Leh has altitude of 3,500 meters and the barometric pressure of 500. So when we calculate, it comes to this 45 millimeter of HGH at Leh, which is very abnormal. But human can adjust to the low barometric pressure and hypoxia. The ability to adjust and tolerate hyperbaric hypoxia is defined as acclimatization. However, in some cases, acclimatization is delayed or poor, and it can cause acute high altitude sickness like acute mountain sickness, acute high altitude cerebral edema, high altitude pulmonary edema. This group has acclimatized, but this person isn't acclimatized because of he is having a headache. And the natives who are living in the high altitude, they are well acclimatized and they don't have any problem in doing even severe exercises. So what happens in when the patient is exposed to the hyperbaric hypoxia? There is where there is decrease in the PaO2, the respiratory centers in the brain that get stimulated, and that causes hyperventilation. There is increased depth and rate of the respiration, so the peak partial pressure, arterial pressure is maintained, and simultaneously the heart rate and there is increase in cardiac output, and but because of the hyperventilation, the CO2 washout and the respiratory alkalosis occur, which has been compensated by the renal excretion of the bicarbonate. So there is also increase in the hemoglobin because of the decrease in plasma pressure. There is right shift of the oxygen dissociation curve towards right side, because with the help of increase in the 2,3 DGP concentration, that facilitate the oxygen delivery in the tissues. So it takes about 1 to 3 days for the acclimatization. And successful acclimatization leads to improved sleep, increased comfort, sense of well-being, improved submaximal endurance, and the maximum and exercise tolerance. Delayed acclimatization occur in those who are living more than 14-15 days. So due to hypoxia, there is erythropoietin secretion, and that causes increase in the blood count and increase in the hemoglobin. This increased, and there is also increase in the diffusion capacity of the lung. So number of alveoli increases, the blood supply, capillaries are also open and the increases in number. There is increased capillarity in the tissue also, other than lungs. Then there is increase in the mitochondria in the cells, so the cells metabolism improves. And in natives of the natives like Tibetan and Sherpas, they have genetic changes also. People living in high altitude, when they are coming to low level for business or some other purpose, marriages or something, they lose acclimatization if they stay more than 5 to 7 days. And especially children lose acclimatization in 2 to 3 days. When they go back to their homes, they have severe headache, vomiting, and lethargy for 3 to 5 days. That is called as re-entry sickness. So this is the barometric pressure and PaO2 at various altitude. In Kolkata it is 100 and in Everest it is 29 only. So we have so many places, attractive places like Nainital, Darjeeling, Srinagar, where the PaO2 is around 95 to 79. This is comfortable. Then moderate elevations like Gulmarg, Pahalgam, Lachung, Oli, one need to have little bit of the acclimatization. And very high like Leh, Kedarnath, Yamthang, they have the PaO2 is very low, so one has to get the acclimatization, and they have to stay there for say about 48 hours when they reach there. And these are the very high places. India has very high places like Khardungla Pass and the Dumrila Pass, which is the highest motorable road in the world, that is 5,610 meters. So in these places, it is not advisable to stay for a night. And international high mountain destinations are Titlis, Jangfru, Kilimanjaro, and many more are there. So what is high altitude sickness? High altitude sickness may be acute mountain sickness, high altitude cerebral edema, and high altitude pulmonary edema. Mild acute mountain sickness can occur in about 75% of the travelers who are going to the high mountain places. They have headache, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, dizziness, sleep disturbance, etc. And they typically starts after 4 to 24 hours of ascent. There is no physical signs and there is no fever which differentiate them from the other illnesses, and usually it is self-limiting. AMS in children. It is difficult to diagnose AMS in children because their symptoms are non-specific. They have loss of smile and cheerfulness, lethargy, fuzziness, unexplained, food refusal, irritability, and excess cry. If you don't find any cause, definite cause for this in mountains, we must diagnose AMS in small children. Moderate AMS is severe headache, nausea, vomiting, persistent. You need some drugs like paracetamol or ibuprofen or domperidone. If you don't relieve by these drugs, you must go to the nearest hospital and take oxygen for about 2 to 3 hours. If after 2 to 3 hours you don't improve, then plan for descent. And the severe AMS is there is shortness of breath at rest and decreasing mental status that may lead to HAPE or HAZE. Descent is the only treatment. So many people refuse that because they are poorly educated, they are poorly prepared. There is tour package which is very tight. There is no place for rest and change the itinerary. Government of India has made mandatory to stay 48 hours for acclimatization at Leh. High altitude cerebral edema, the symptoms are severe headache, confusion, truncal ataxia, agitation, nausea, vomiting, hallucination, seizures, coma, and if not treated, then death can occur. So many climbers dies during the Everest expedition. The high altitude cerebral edema, the field treatment is only effective treatment is descent. So they must descend at least 500 meters from the height where the symptoms have occurred. So the adjuvant treatment is high flow oxygen, dexamethasone, acetazolamide, furosemide, and mannitol to reduce the ICP, and benzodiazepine for seizures, and avoid exertion during descent, and hyperbaric bag and hyperbaric chambers we are coming. High altitude pulmonary edema, that HAPE, is non-cardiogenic edema, and due to increase in the pulmonary pressure because of the hypoxia, there is hydrostatic pressure, and the hypoxic damage also causes damage to the endothelium, that also causes edema of the lungs. It can be fatal if not treated, and occurs in 1 to 3% of the persons who are climbing directly to more than 3,600 meters. The symptoms are cough, chest pain, progressive dyspnea, and frothy sputum hemoptysis may occur. X-ray shows patchy infiltrates, and in severe cases there may be a total whiteout. So treatment is most of the time, most important is the rapid descent, that is up to 500 meters, and similar to the HACE. But some of the drugs like dexamethasone, nifedipine, taldonafine can be given to these patients. This is a gamma bag. This is a portable hyperbaric bag. This weighs about 5 kg, 5 to 6 kg, and it can increase the pressure up to equal to descent of the 1,000 meter. So whenever the patient gets HAPE or HAZE, it should be kept in this, and the pressure can be generated by the foot pump up to the descent of 500 or 800 meter. And in 1 to 2 hours, there is reset of the body chemistry, and the patient can be taken out, and the patient can go to the lower zone. This is the oxygen parlor, and this is the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. The major determinants of HAI are target height and altitude, rate of ascent and speed of ascent, and the degree of pre-acclimatization, and some of the individuals they are especially very susceptible. So prevention for HACE is educate about the risk of high altitude illnesses, plan and prepare the itinerary accordingly, do health checkup before, and keep sufficient warm clothes, and keep extra time for delayed acclimatization and option for change of plan and the itinerary. And slow descent is best by road. Review symptoms frequently. If the symptoms do not resolve, no further ascent. If there is no time for ascent, and ascent is unavoidable, acetazolamide is a drug which can be started 24 hours before starting the ascent. So in adult, the dose is 250 milligram, and in children, the dose is 2.5 milligram. Twice divided into two doses can be given for 2 to 3 days. Who should not go to high altitude? This is very important. Children with increased pulmonary flow, like right to left shunt, and those who have been operated recently, say about 1 or 2 years, they should not go. The nursery graduate who has a history of prolonged oxygenation and PPHN, so for 1 or 2 years, they should not go. Infant below 6 weeks, Down syndrome, sickle cell disease, sickling precipitates in the due to hypoxia. So they have very serious problems of sickle cell crisis. Then uncontrolled asthma and acute respiratory illnesses may aggravate or prolong AMS. The central government has ensured that there is deployment of the gamma bag in the passes in the critical areas, oxygen parlors, ambulances with BLS and ALS, and oxygen generation plants, and the installation of the hyperbaric bag in Lahore, and they are planning to have air ambulance in the Leh. So medical science does not know why some people are not suffering from AMS and some people are suffering from AMS. Even during frequent visits, some person suffer, and sometimes he suffers, sometimes do know. There is no no age specified, equally affects all ages, not related to any level of physical fitness, and no amount of physical fitness and acclimatization guarantees the safety. These are the very
Sir,
few
time,
studies
sir.
last year. Last
Please.
slide, last slide. These are the very few studies which has been done in Denver, Nepal, and Ladakh, and Japan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As the time is short,
Yeah.
just one question may be allowed.
Process standard we always request, that is called a fit to fly test.
But
Fit to fly.
peak to fly.
Yes. For a chronic lung disease children, exactly can you tell us how to check for the fit to fly so that he can fly in the airport, in the aircraft?
Yeah.
That's one of the very common problem because any idea on this, because people will line to listen.
See,
If you have a chronic lung disease child, everyone is not fit to fly.
Yeah.
How do you know he is fit to fly?
See, generally flights are generally flights are compressed up to 10,000 feet. So the 10,000 feet means if the flight is going up to 29,000, but they are compressed to 8,000 to 10,000 feet. So the normal person will have about SpO2 of 90 to 92%. And because we are sitting over there, we are not exercising there, so we tolerate it well. But any person who is compromised should not be allowed to go by flight. So he has already 90 to 93% of the SpO2, he should not be allowed.
So one question from me, one question from my side, sir. Hello,
Fine.
sir. So since we have lot of tourists now going to higher places like Kedarnath, Badrinath, every year government is sending. So do you recommend prophylactic acetazolamide for those patients to acclimatization there, or they just go?
That is what I said. If the ascent is unavoidable and they want to go to faster, then it is advisable to take acetazolamide 24 hours before start, 24 hours before going to some high places. And it is, for children, it is 1.5 milligram per kg per dose twice a day for 3 days. So you must start 24 hours before that.
Thank you, sir, for your nice and clear deliberation.
Thank you, sir.